Welcome to the Greenroom, a new podcast series by Sustainable Buildings Canada designed to help the building industry stay informed about the latest trends and techniques for building more sustainable buildings. I'm Jeff Fredericks, and I'm live at the 2022 Green Buildings Festival in downtown Toronto. All right, great. Up next, we've got Duncan and Devon. They're here from the City of Toronto. And why don't we start by you guys introducing yourselves, who you are and what you do. We'll start with you, Duncan.
Yeah, great. So we're with the City of Toronto in the Environment and Climate Division. Our team is specifically the existing buildings team. So we work on the programs and policies and initiatives that affect all existing buildings within the City of Toronto. My role specifically is I'm a program manager, but what I really do is a lot of the outreach and marketing and bringing people into our programs and seeing where they fit, and then discovering sometimes some new partnerships that we can go with.
Awesome. How about you, Devon?
Yeah, I'm Devon Stopps, senior engineer with the City of Toronto as well. So working across our programs that are targeted to the larger buildings, so not just single family homes. We're looking at everything from educational to commercial, from offices to manufacturing to industrial. How do we get them all to net zero and reduce our greenhouse gas emissions while incorporating all of those things that are good for the community and ensuring that we realize all of those benefits across the community.
Great, and we're going to dive into a little about that in a minute. But first, let's talk a little bit about this Green Building Festival that we're here today. You guys are our partners. You help sponsor this great event. We've heard today already some excellent presentations. In fact, one of the presentations was from the City of Oslo and some of the things that they've got up to. Particularly in electrifying the construction sites. Was there anything about hearing some of those presentations that got you thinking, hey, we've got to take some notes here and see about applying them to our great city?
Wait, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about how great it would be to look at just providing more information to, again, the community. So I see some of these retrofit case studies, which I'd love to be able to point towards more deeply retrofit buildings in Toronto. There's some. I've seen some. Now, have most people in the city seen them? I don't think so. So I think getting that information out there is one of the most critical things. I love the idea of transportation electrification, and that's one of the things that is on top of people's minds. They're thinking about electric cars. They see some cool examples out there. I'd like them to be thinking about all electric buildings as well, and moving to high performance heat pumps, and realizing some of those similar benefits to electrifying transportation.
Yeah, you're right. Electric cars have great marketing. We should have electric buildings kind of have that same marketing. Yeah. Events like this are really good for that collaboration piece. We've met today tons and tons of people who are on the same track, who have similar ideas to us, but learning what direction they're taking it is actually is pretty fun. From the municipal side, seeing what Oslo's doing, and talking with other cities the whole time, I think there is lots that is driven from the municipal level. Because we're so close to all the buildings, because we have the relationships with our buildings, our transportation, everything that's within our own cities, we are a lot closer to the ground and can actually get things done. And we've seen that at least in North America, is a lot of the municipalities are leading the ambitious goals charge.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because of course, what people want more than anything right now is action, right? There's been a lot of talk over the years. It's time to show what action we're taking. Actually, as you say, these are ambitious goals. We got to chip away at them, and we got to demonstrate that they're actually working. Maybe we could talk a little bit about some of the myths that are out there when it comes to this work, because people are concerned about costs. They're concerned about timelines. They're concerned about all these sorts of things. Can you talk a little bit about, when it comes to a deep retrofit as an example, some of the myths that we're up against?
Yeah, that's a tough one as well because cost is center of any of these projects, right? And I always like pointing back to our strategy where we look at that life cycle cost. And for most building types, the life cycle cost of doing a deep retrofit is more than the cost of carbon right now. So you have to start thinking about what are all of the other benefits than just that core energy benefit that are coming out of this retrofit. So you want to think about health benefits, you want to think of community benefits, you want to think of those high performance windows helping block out street noise. You want to think about people being more resilient in an ice storm where power is knocked out. You want to be able to think about, holistically everything about the benefits in a building of going deep. And that's really, I think, how you, build up a business case for those kind of retrofits.
Yeah.
Also thinking about what your capital maintenance is and what projects does the building need and what can be brought forward and combined with a deep retrofit. So you're thinking of, you might have to work on the masonry on your building already anyways as part of your planned maintenance. Now, what if you can also improve your insulation in your walls or your air tightness while you do this? And it only costs you a little bit more.
Right.
That's where the business case is.
Gotcha. And of course, what you're describing is some of the work that, Duncan, I guess you would be doing in terms of promoting some of these other benefits, right? Because, as you say, I mean, we've got to make sure that people are understanding the broader, longer term benefits, not just the immediacy that may be realized. Why don't we talk a little bit about some of the other presentations in terms of what you've heard being done in cities like Edmonton? We just were chatting with Peter about the Energy Sprung program and this idea of panelization. Do you guys have any thoughts on how we could implement something like that in a city like ours with a lot of public housing stock? I mean, this is a program that has had some great success overseas. What about here? Well, why can't we do it?
Yeah, and I think really telling people what we do is kind of a big part of my role. At the city, we haven't done a ton of it in the past, so just making sure that everybody knows the programs that are available and where we're going and what is actually happening is a really key part on what we're doing to let people know it's not a pie in the sky kind of thing. These technologies exist. We can use them right now, and we can get to that future a lot sooner than we think. Taking a look at what Edmonton's doing, I think it's great, and Toronto Community Housing on our side is really doing similar type things. They are taking a look at their building stock holistically. How are we going to get to net zero? What is the cost implications of that we just took a look at?
Yeah, and I'd say when you're talking about panelization as well, we have local manufacturers of overcladding systems, adding high level of insulation performance. We have projects that are doing this inside of Toronto. It works for a lot of buildings. Others, there are some difficulties with the process. I mean, I think of a lot of the single family homes that might need to do this where setbacks are more of a challenge in this city than many other places. And I think that's something to be overcome. I love the idea of panelization in terms of how fast you can go through and, in order to meet our 2030 target, we need some ways to accelerate it like that.
Well, and this afternoon we're going to be hearing a little bit about some other initiatives that have, I guess, great hope. I'm thinking of the Tiny Hope project and specifically the tiny home discussion that's on the agenda, the project in St. Thomas, and another project that came out of the University of, Carleton University. Tell me a little bit about the city's plans when it comes to both tiny homes and laneway homes and I guess garden suites. These are all new concepts for many people. How do they fit into the broader climate objectives?
Yeah, I think they fit in kind of two separate but involved ways, I would say. One is just the housing pieces that we have in the city, the housing crisis, as it's been called. Like, really, affordability for living in the city of Toronto is really tough right now for a lot of people. So this creates kind of some additional housing stock that can be added to the whole social construct of Toronto. And then as they're being built, it's really, we saw in one of the presentations earlier in how they're infilling a lot of housing to create density in neighborhoods, and that also has the dual effect of creating density for energy purposes, but also creating that missing middle housing is what they call it.
Yeah, great. And
I think it
your
also
perspective?
links into transportation as well, and the goal of the 15-minute city, which I love the concept. It's part of our Transform TO plan as well. That and active transport, right? So you want to be able to live where you can walk or bike to work. You want to be able to go out to play in your same neighborhood. You want the stores to buy your grocery in your same neighborhood. You know, you want your kids to go to school in that neighborhood. You want everything in that neighborhood. So you get an opportunity as well while you densify near transit stations, especially to realize some of those goals as well.
Awesome. Just a couple more questions for you guys. I guess one would be about things you guys are both kind of really looking forward to as we look at 2023 and beyond. The theme of the conference here is positive, and I guess promoting also some of these great positive innovations that are being introduced. Are there things that you guys are really excited about in next year and beyond that are going to come
I'd
to
say
fruition? Yeah.
my biggest excitement this year, so I've always been looking forward to the point where running a heat pump's the same cost as burning fossil fuels in a furnace in my house. And I think because of our current increases in energy prices, I think that's this winter where it's actually going to reach cost parity in houses in Toronto anyway. This isn't true everywhere, but at least here, I'm really excited because I think this is the winter when that'll happen.
That's a cool one. Tipping points are always funny. I remember when LED light bulbs were $30 a light bulb, right? And then there's those economies of scale that bring it up. There's energy costs that make the incentive there. I think that's a really good one. I didn't think of that one right now. But one thing that's really positive for me that I'm excited for continuing to grow and grow and grow is all my conversations with friends and family and everything, even if they don't remember or really know what I do for a living, they still start talking to me about all the things that I'm doing for a living. And that has totally changed, I think, in the past 2 years, where everybody has been more conscious about talking about carbon specifically and not just energy efficiency and not just cost savings, anything like that. It's really switched. And I think that conversation switching throws a different lens on what everybody does in their everyday life. And I think that's exciting for me.
Yeah, that's a great point. And so I guess the last question, just as it relates to this great city of ours, is where I know we talked about this already, about ambitious targets, but where are we relative to hitting some of those marks that we've set? I mean, there's lots of work to be done, but it sounds like the will is there. Maybe you guys can give us a quick update.
We have extremely ambitious targets in Toronto. So our goal is net zero by 2040. This is 10 years in advance of the federal target. There are very few jurisdictions across the world, meeting our level of ambition. And so it is a challenge. We've come a long way. There's been many improvements, but we have so much left to do. And when you think about that timeline and the fact you have to think of emissions as, once you put it out there, it's counted. So we want to reduce our emissions as soon as possible to get the biggest change possible. And we have 8 years until 2030, less, than 8 years, still 2030. And, you know, in order to reach our target for there, the example I love using is that it's the same amount of emissions as if you electrified every single family home in Toronto to reach that 2030 target. Now, obviously, we're not thinking of just that one measure, but it's still massive, even if you incorporate the whole holistic, looking at the process entirely. There is so much work to do to get where we need to be by 2040.
And from our side, on the existing building side, that is one of the most difficult places to do it. New buildings are a little bit easier because you can build to exactly what you want, but the existing building stock's there, and you got to figure out some ways to get it done. And for us, that culminates in our existing buildings emission strategy, where we've laid out these 9 recommendations that really hit home on the key pieces for it, for us to go forward to actually try and hit this ambitious goal.
Which is, you know, understanding how your building operates. So start collecting energy data, disclosing energy data, labeling how well it operates. Start running through, as well, auditing your performance, retro commissioning, recommissioning, looking at performance targets, emissions performance targets, phasing those in as well. And then on the other side, we also want to make sure we're providing enough support for building owners to actually be able to accomplish these things. So more, how do you retrofit, providing guidance on what's the pathway you should take to get to net zero,
Right.
and financing for projects as well to try to help with the costs.
And some of these programs already exist. We're running them right now, but we're looking to expand them. We're looking to take them to the next level and see how we can help everybody in Toronto get there.
Gotcha. And where would we direct people to learn more information? The City of Toronto website, and is there something to look for specifically to help move this along?
Yeah, I'd say looking for the city's Better Buildings Partnership or Transform TO. You'll find all the information under that. So toronto.ca/BBP is you know, the Better Buildings Partnership website, where you'll find guidance on everything from single-family homes up to how to get in touch for our programs for the biggest buildings in Toronto.
Terrific. Duncan, Devon, terrific work. Thanks so much. Glad you were able to join us today.
Thanks so
for having
much.
us.
All right.
Cheers.
Perfect.